Hi guys, I hope you're all well and everybody's surviving in isolation, staying safe and being creative. I thought in celebration of the holy month of Ramadan coming in a few days, Ramadan Kareem, Ramadan Mubarak to everybody, I thought I would do some art activities to preoccupy our long fast. It's shorter than any other year, so it's really cool, but I thought it would be really nice to do something creative in celebration of this beautiful month. So I thought I would start today with the Islamic star. So this is the 8-pointed tessellated star, and I was going to tell you a little bit about the story about this star as well, so you can see it. And I've got a little bit of calligraphy there, so the word Allah. So the Islamic star came about at the start of Islam as a symbol of unity. One star represents one person, and many stars represent many people coming together, which is called an ummah in Arabic, or in Islamic terms it's called an ummah, which is referred to as a community. The star celebrates the community joining together, and if one star were to fall, all the other stars would hold it together like that. So if you go into a mosque, you'll see stars all joining together on the walls, a bit like this, and then one falls off, it's okay, the others hold each other together, and that's symbolic of the community holding one another together, which is quite relevant to what's happening today. We all support each other. So in celebration of this beautiful concept, I thought we should make this beautiful star. So it also celebrates nature, demonstrates God's creation, celebrates nature, and glorifies God's creations by using decorative nature all around the star. So I'm going to show you guys how to do this and tell you a little bit of the story of the star. I'm not sure how accurate I am, so nobody hold me to this, but I'm going to try my best. It was inspired through a friend of mine who is an architect. I'm not going to share his name, but you know who you are. Right. So when Islam came about, the first symbol that came about was a cross. So the Muslims thought, hold on one second, we don't want to go in 4 directions and we don't want to be copycats, so we will create our own. So this only goes in 4 directions, as you can see: north, west, south, east. They wanted to go in more than 4 directions. They wanted to go in 8 directions. So north, west, south, east. Then they thought, hold on, we don't want to go in 4, let's add another one. So they said, okay, northwest, northeast, southwest, southeast. So it goes into 8 directions of the world. So they said, oh, this is the shape that we think that we want to use, because it's not just going in 4 directions, it's going in 8 directions. And we want to send our message to everybody around the world, whether you like it or don't like it. You don't have to accept it, but if you do, then you can. Then they went back to the drawing board and they said, hold on, let's try and change the shape, because it still looks like a star, it still looks like a cross, maybe, let's go and think about how we can do this. So they all sat together, had a little discussion, and they came up with a circle. They said, circle's fantastic, and the circle represents one God, which is very important in Islam because it is the worship of one God. So they said, okay, but hold on, we come back to our point of having no direction here. So let's go back to the drawing board and think about this again. We'll keep the shape though. So they went back to the drawing board and they came up with the square, which is relevant to our project today. So they came up with a square. Again, we come back to the same problem. So they've only got 1, 2, 3, 4 corners, so they're only touching 4 corners. So hold on, let's get another square together. So they got another square together and they put it across, and that, my friends, is how the Islamic star shape came together. So they came with 8 points, and this became the shape that they used. And if you go to mosques or any of the Islamic sites around the world, you'll see the shape being used quite a lot. I'm not sure how accurate my story is, but I've shared it with you today. Right, let's get down to the arty-farty stuff. Okay guys, so in order to do this, you will need 2 A4 sheets of paper and a tiny saucer, okay, or a tiny plate that's that size, if your mum or dad let you use it, a pencil, a ruler, a pair of scissors, a pen. I always like to use one of these biro pens, and my favorite is the permanent marker, which is waterproof, and I always use that, especially if we're going to paint. Right, And we can start. So what you're going to need to do, guys, is you're going to need to cut 2 squares 21 centimeters all around. Okay, perfect squares, 2 perfect squares 21 centimeters all around. Okay guys, so with your ruler I need you to measure 21 centimeters going all the way round. So 2 perfect squares, so 21 centimeters, 21 centimeters, 21 centimeters, yeah? And then put the 2 sheets of paper together and cut. Make sure you're holding them very tightly, cut them on the line, keep it nice and straight. You can use this as scrap paper for later, so put that to the side. Now, the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to see how the star fits, so play around with it a little bit until you fit. I've used really nice thick construction paper that we had lying around in the house. You can use whatever paper that you've got lying around, and you can recycle paper too. So I have done that. Now the next thing I'm going to do is get my glue stick. Did I forget to mention the glue stick? You also need a glue stick. Right, so just make a little circle of glue in the middle, just like that. And then turn it around, play around, make sure that you've got your star in the right place. Stick it down that way. Put some more glue over here, and then turn your star around, give it a little massage, turn it back and flip it over. Okay, now the next step is when the plate comes in, the saucer comes in. So I'm going to take my saucer, I am going to look at where the center of it is. Now I would use a pencil if you're a starter, but if you're confident then go with the permanent marker, but make sure that the plate isn't something precious to your parents. So make sure that it's something that you can use for art. Okay, so that's my first step. Now the next step is I'm going to do my calligraphy. I would use a pencil if it was the first time ever doing it. Now in Arabic, this is the style that I've originally made at the start, we start from right to left. So the writing starts from right to left. In English we start left to right. So we're going to start from right to left. It may seem a little bit unusual to your hand, but you will get used to it. So this is the first letter. So it's Arabic bubble writing or calligraphy. That's Alif. And then I'm going to do my Lam, which is like an upside down M. And join it as so, and then do a perfect tiny little circle just there. Now remember we spoke about how we use nature as our source of inspiration in Islamic art, as a way to glorify God's creations and appreciation of his creation of natures and its beauty. So we're going to do that here. So I'm going to use a bumpy little flower petal going all the way round. Now the best thing to do is don't stop with your pen. Keep going. Doesn't matter if it's not perfect, you're trying. So it's like lots of little M's. Okay, just keep going, keep going, keep going, and then meet your last one. Right, then I'm going to put some tiny little circles in there. So decoration was very important in Islamic art, and this is called surface design or stylization in art. And it is really, really therapeutic to do this. I love doing this, and it's also a repeated pattern. You're repeating the same pattern over and over and over and over again. So you're creating a community of patterns. Right, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use the circle, which is one of my favorite shapes. And remember we spoke about is this shape that represents the oneness of Allah. It also represents the shape of the planet and the shape of the earth and the shape of the moon. So there are many of God's creations that are circles, so it celebrates all of those creations too. So the circle is very important. It's a very important shape in Islamic art. I'm going to fill them in there. Okay, then I'm going to go back and I'm going to do some zigzags going all the way down here. So my my zigzag line. You can practice on some scrap paper before you start if you don't feel confident, but don't worry if it's not perfect. Make sure you do the same thing in all the symmetrical places. It doesn't have to be perfect. In Islam, Islamic art is never really perfect. They always make a mistake because they believe perfection comes from God, not from humans. Right, then I'm going to go back to that and I'm going to start adding some nature, some flowers. So I have a good memory bank of Islamic art in my head, but if you don't, use our friend Google and search lots of beautiful things on Islamic art. If you're lucky enough to have things that have Islamic patterns at home, you can also use that, or you can look at patterns that you've got, flowers, nature, trees, things like that, and use them in your artwork. Okay, use this pattern to join the flowers, like little stems, and then I'm going to add some leaves going in alternate directions. Once I'm happy with that, I'm going to go back to Allah and I'm going to add some shapes to it. So I like my circles, I'm going to add circle and circle, and just use the lines as your guide, so not to go outside the line. Try and be as neat as possible. Islamic art is very neat. And if you want to keep it black and white, then you can do, and that will be referred to as pen and ink. The reason I'm using a waterproof marker is because I want to go back and paint it using watercolors or inks, acrylic inks. So that would mean that this would not smudge because it's waterproof. Right, I add a few more leaves, a few more shapes there. And go back, have a look at it, hold it up like that, have a look and see, do I like it? Do I want to add a few more bits to it? You decide what it is that you want to add, and you can also add things that are relevant to your personality as well. Okay, think about the colours. Now, some of the colours that we use in Islamic art are blue, green, yellow, and reds. So I'm going to use some of those in my drawing, in my painting. So I've got my watercolor set here, and what I'm going to do is get it ready. I've got my cup of water and I have got my brush. Okay, now what we're going to do is paint the biggest surface area first. So I'm going to use some blue. So these are two stars that I've done before. I'm going to use those for reference and change it a little bit. Now I'm going to go back and do the biggest surface area with blue. Now with watercolors, I'm going to do dry, wet on dry. So the watercolors are wet and the paper is dry, and you have to work really fast with watercolors. So I'm going to put it into my palette here, my baby palette, and add water. And the first layer of watercolor is always lighter. So we have to work really fast when we're doing this. Don't make a mess, try not to. Train yourself. So I'm doing the inside of the circle first. And I start in the center because if I start on the edges, I will smudge the watercolor. So always start in the center and go outwards, and that will help you. And when you're painting using watercolors, always try and leave a little white gap, as so that the color has some light, because it's a transparent color, it's not opaque like poster paint. So you need the color to breathe. Go back finish off anything needs finishing there, and then I will start on where else I want to add some blue. Might add some there, might add some there, might add some there, and there. Just a bit here. Now I'm going to fast forward this and show you what happens at the end. Okay, so good luck guys, please send me your outcomes. I'll show you mine when I'm done. Okay guys, so we've come to the end of our lesson, and I have really enjoyed teaching all of you about the Islamic star, and I have made, this is my new one, so we're going to hang these up, and this is not one I've done, so you can see all of my Islamic stars. You can get all your family involved in this project. It's really good fun, and what I would do is just hole punch, or get your mum or dad to make a little needle hole through here and hang some thread through it, or fishing wire, and then you can hang it up somewhere in the house to celebrate the start of Ramadan. Ramadan Kareem everybody. And next week I will be doing a fenus, a Ramadan lantern, which is very important in Egyptian culture. I'm sure lots of us will have one at home, but we're going to make a paper fenus so that we can hang. You can make one, you can make two, so if you'd like you can bring a few sheets of A3 paper, a few sheets of A4 paper, and I will show you how to make one, and that will be the template for all of your lanterns. Ramadan Kareem, and see you next week guys. Bye!